everyone as well, and having a lovely, lovely week. It's halfway through February now, team, and I just want to touch base in terms of hope everyone has been smashing. If you have any New Year's resolutions, that they have been sticking to it, and that they have been sticking to their word as well. I put in the group chat today, team, one thing about habits. Okay, it takes approximately 66 days to form a habit. Okay, and it takes a further 90 days for that habit to become autonomous. Okay. The reason why I want to explain this is because obviously, team, it's halfway through February now, team, and you should be starting trying to implement and building them habits that you should be, because at that 90 days, that's when things should just be autonomous, and then that's going to take you through not just for the rest of the year, but for the rest of your life. And I really want to instill that and show the importance of staying consistent is super important. And I went on a post yesterday, and it was, if you can't stay motivated, the least you can do is stay consistent. And just think that summer's literally around the corner, team. So if you have any body composition goals, now's the time to start implementing. Now's the time to start bumping up your training. Now's the time to start dialing in your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management, and so forth. Okay, but team, today's training is going to be everything to do with nutrition. The types of things we're going to run through today are: what the bloody hell is a macronutrient? What's better, high carb, low fat, high fat, low carb? How to lose weight, the protocols of how to lose weight, the protocols of how to build muscle, and how to maintain your weight as well. And what is the difference when it comes to food, of how to achieve these goals? What kind of foods do I need to be eating to gain fat? What kind of foods do I need to be eating to lose weight? So we're going to be covering this and a little bit more today, team. So let's get straight into it. What the bloody hell is a macronutrient? A macronutrient is either a protein, carb, or fat. You have macronutrients and you also have micronutrients as well. Your macronutrients are the more important ones that you need to be focusing on. For context, proteins and carbs contain 4 calories per 1 gram, and fats contain 9 calories per 1 gram. Okay, do not be scared by the word calories. Okay, calories is just a unit measurement of heat, and that's how energy is formed. So don't be afraid of the word calories and be like, I'm never consuming fats again. It's 9 calories. It's all in moderation, and that's how I work in nutrition plans. So in terms of the main roles for each macronutrient, proteins are the obvious reasons, to build muscle and recover muscle. However, proteins are in every single cell within your body. That's how important hitting your protein target is. It's not just a case of, I want to build muscle, recover my muscles. It's every single cell within your body. I'm not too sure exactly what the statistic is about forms reforming within your body, but it's a simple process of you are what you eat, but you are what you do not eat as well. So if you don't consume the right amount of proteins and good sources of protein, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not going to be optimized yourself as a human being, rather than not even just performing and recovering within the gym. And I hope that really is understandable there. Generally speaking, when you want to consume your proteins, I work you guys proteins off around about 1.7 to 2.2 grams per kg. And this dependent on the individual, how many calories they're consuming already, and just everything around it in terms of their involvement with the nutrition as well. And that's important to know. If you ever do want to start doing your own nutrition or track it or something like that, it's important to note as well. Carbs are a main source of energy. Okay, there's a whole misconception about carbs being bad for you. No carbs before carbs and all this, but it's a complete misconception. The only reason why carbohydrates are demonized is purely for the fact that some carbs are not the most nutritionally valuable for you. For example, pizzas, for example, pastries, biscuits, things like that. They're defined as carbs. Yes, they're carbs, but when you've got things like rice, pasta, they get overlooked as well. Okay, which shouldn't be done. I'll try and separate these two types of carbs. Okay, there's carbs that are good for you and carbs that are not really that good for you. I'm not saying that you should completely eradicate these. Everything in moderation, like I always say, team. The reason why people say that carbs make me gain weight, generally speaking, the only reason why I can think of that is because, one, that they have no self-discipline and they don't really control their portion sizes. Second of all, for every gram of carbohydrate you consume, your body will keep and use 3 to 4 grams of water, and this will help to store energy. Because when you consume carbohydrates, it then turns into something called glycogen, which then comes into a source of energy that your body will use. Carbohydrates are not just only good for muscular performance, but muscular recovery, but also cognitive function as well. Okay, you see a lot of people, for example, let's say in a marathon, that they hit the wall. People will only hit the wall when they're dehydrated or they run out of glycogen stores. That's the only reason why. Okay, so if you're not, your hydration, your nutrition, nutrition is on point when let's say you are doing a marathon, you're not going to be hitting that wall. It's as simple as that. Okay, it's as simple as that. Moving on to fats. I feel like fats get really overlooked. Okay, it gets really overlooked in terms of the importance of what they can do. Okay, so fats are important for hormone function. Okay, the absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K. Okay, and it's also used as a secondary energy source as well. Okay, I get a lot of people ask me, but Josh, if I do a fasted workout, is this going to make me burn fat? And I go, yes, it's going to allow you to burn the fat stores, but it's not going to actually burn the visceral fat that you can see. It's not just going to be melting away from you. I know if you do like a fasted incline walk, you're going to come out like a Greek goddess. It's not going to work like that, okay? It just means that when you do something fasted, your body will go to, okay, carbs, where are you? You go, fasted, carbs, not there. Fine, what next? Fats, what have you got for me? And they go, fats, okay, they'll say that, right, we got you, no dramas. When you consume fats, it turns into something called triglycerides. And then they get broken down into a process called lipolysis. Okay, and when it goes through into the process of lipolysis, then goes into something called Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is the process of where your fat or carbohydrates will go to cycle, and then they get formed into something called ATP. And then when ATP is formed, and then something happens to ATP, it then creates heat, which then gives us energy. Okay, so it's your body's very clever way of just utilizing different sources of energy when it doesn't have carbohydrates as a first source. I hope that makes sense. There's quite deep into that. Okay, and I've always put here, and no, just because you go to the gym fasted does not mean you're going to lose fat any faster than you did not. Because regardless, doing fasted cardio, fasted this, fasted that, if you're still consuming the same amount of calories every single day, that's the only way that you can manipulate weight in versus weight out. But when you actually look into diets itself, okay, the word diet is completely demonized, and there's so much controversy about the word diet and what the best diet is for X or Z. But generally speaking, if you actually look at the word diet, diet is what someone habitually eats. Therefore, if your diet consists of a well-balanced diet, okay, then that is your diet, okay? Don't think of the word as diet as restrictive. Don't think of the word diet as just like rice and chicken and broccoli, because that's not true, okay? Diet is just what you eat on a day-to-day basis. And you and me and everyone should be opting. My diet is a healthy, balanced diet that I can sustain, okay? And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions a little bit later to see where your nutrition's at as well, okay? And that, like I said, the best diet that anyone can have is someone that is healthy and sustainable, and it's as simple as that. Because the worst thing about it, team, is that you'll see people on social media as they're doctors. Generally, they could be doctors, but they will then try and promote different types of diets down your throat for X, Y, Z, but sometimes it's not really that optimal at all. And the big craze in the last couple of years has been veganism, okay? Which, if you do it for moral reasons, I've got no issues with everyone consumes. But if you look at science, which I'll go off, if you want to do more reasons, then that's your decision. But if you're a vegan or vegetarian or whatever for health reasons, you're shooting yourself in the foot, okay? Because what happens, let's say on a vegan's cycle, let's say, for the first 2 years, they're going to go, yeah, I feel energized, I feel I've lost weight, I'm recovering well, my cognitive function's been really good. But all they've really done on a surface level is they've just cut out all the shit they have been eating, and they've replaced it with healthier nutrition, more various types of foods that you, like we said before, by consuming 30 different plants, which they have been doing, which is brilliant, okay? But then, let's say after that 2 years, their sleep's going to be shit, their recovery's going to be shit, their hair's going to be falling out, their nails are going to be weak, their bones are going to be weak. All these types of things are going to be implementing their low B12 and so forth. Okay, because now they're gone, then losing out on all the nutrients and minerals that everything else that they're not consuming. Okay, and then what tends to happen is they'll go, do you know what, I need to change something, and they start implementing things that they have been neglecting, and they go from the pace of where eating healthy, nutritious foods with lots of variety, and now adding back all the things that they should be eating as well, and then they have a balanced diet. It's as simple as that. A lot of people, when they do go onto a diet, is that all they generally do is they cut out all the bad foods, and then they go into this different diet, which is more structured, and they think that's the next best thing from a slice of bread. But really, all it's done is that they've been more structured, more disciplined, and they've just cut out all the shit that they shouldn't really be eating anyway. Okay, but if you just have a normal diet that you consume and actually enjoy, but just cut out the shit that you don't need, you still get exactly the same outcome. I hope that makes sense. I do hope that makes sense. And generally speaking, if someone wants to favor a higher carb, lower fat, or vice versa, it's completely dependent on the individual, and what they want to achieve. But generally speaking, for me, you, and a lot of people, we will always favor a high carb, lower fat, and high protein, obviously. And if you do try to favor a higher fat, then your body goes through like process of ketosis, and like you really need to understand, but why? What is your outcome? Okay, I have a very non-biased approach to nutrition. I just go with what science has told me and what my qualifications as a nutrition coach has taught me as well. Okay, but if someone comes to me and they go, Josh, I consume this is what works for me, and I go, fine, whatever. Like, who am I to tell you what's good for you and what's bad for you? Or I can guide you, but at the end of the day, you make your own decisions. And what I'll always say as well, just generally don't get drifted into bullshit of what you see on social media. If you do see something with social media and you're like, I don't really understand that, or that's interesting, send it to me. And I'll be able to go, yep, that's good. Yep, that's a load of bollocks. Okay? And I love myth busting. It's really important. And if anyone has any controversy towards what I'm saying as well, please, I would love to talk about it. Okay, in a non-confrontal way, because I like to learn, I like to develop, and I like to see things from different angles as well. But the types of questions you need to ask yourself when you do look at your diet is, number one, am I a healthy individual, both physically, okay, in your gut and within your body as well? And am I mentally well? Really important one there. Number two, am I consuming too many refined carbs? Only you will know this. Am I putting too many teaspoons of sugar in your cup of tea when you don't need to? Are you consuming the extra unnecessary snack that you don't really need to? And I have these honest answers to yourself. What percentage would I give myself on a nutrition scale? 0 being completely shite and 100% being perfect. If it's anything below an 80, that is not good enough. Fundamentally, that is not good enough, and I'm going to draw my line at that. Okay, and be very harsh on yourself, because it's a process of understanding. And if it's below an 80, ask yourself what needs to be changed, what needs to be done in order for you to get to that 80. Okay, because that's super, 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 super important. If you want to achieve anything in terms body composition-wise, performance-wise, you need to be consuming at least 80% is going to be your good stuff. Okay, 90%, 100% if you can. Okay, and generally speaking, if it is anything below an 80, you're shooting yourself in the foot in life as well, because you're not optimizing yourself as a human being. And number 4, how am I recovering / performing both within the gym, performance-based wise, and out the gym? Okay, and what I mean by out the gym is obviously recovering, but also how are your relationships? How is your productivity at work? How is your general energy throughout the day? How's your sleep? Okay, how's your stress management? Okay, because all these types of things will have a correlation into what you're consuming. Like I always say, your gut has a direct correlation to your brain. So if you're not feeding your gut the right things, how can you expect yourself to deal with daily life stresses in a proper way? How can you make yourself feel more energized throughout the day? How can you make yourself be more productive within the day? Concentration, everything. If you're not feeding the gut with the right things, when you know that has a direct correlation to your brain. And that's the importance of just nutrition. Just simple changes within nutrition is going to have a massive, massive and profound effect on your life. And that's it's huge, absolutely huge. When one thing that people can manipulate and they choose not to, it bamboozles me. It really, really, really does. Okay, but luckily for you guys, you've got the help that you can do this, and you know that you should be doing this, and you should be doing it anyway. But if you're not, start implementing it. Going into body composition wise, okay, it doesn't really matter the types of foods that you are consuming, as long as you're consuming healthy, nutritious foods and it's well balanced, okay? Because at the end of the day, if let's say an individual needs 2,000 calories to stick at their maintenance weight, okay, regardless where these 2,000 calories come from, or the types of foods you are consuming, and that they are healthy and they are nutritious and you are hitting your protein target, it doesn't matter where the 2,000 calories come from. As long as you're doing and filling out these requirements. So there's no best type of food to manipulate if you want to gain muscle, lose fat, maintain weight, etc., etc. Okay, when I go on a build phase, my food will be exactly the same to when I go on a little bit of a cutting phase. It's exactly the same. I'll just manipulate the volume that I am eating on. I hope that makes sense. And let's talk about fat loss journey. Okay, and let's speak of it on a bit of an aggressive scale. So to burn 2 pounds of fat every single week, that will equate to around about 7,000 calories, which I know sounds quite a lot, which is on a higher end, don't forget, okay? But by having a calorie deficit and supplementing this with something called NEAT and EAT, which I'm going to explain a little bit later, it can be done, okay? But the process of what you want to go through is understanding, let's say you're in a fat loss phase, your ultimate goal here is fat loss, okay? And obviously weight's going to come down, but you want to prioritize your fat loss. Because at the end of the day, when you do lose fat, okay, but try and maintain as much weight as you can, that allows you to stick as much muscle as you can. If you go through the process of losing fat and losing weight at the same time, when you get to a point where you feel happy, you've just cut away all the fat. That's why it's really important to not do an aggressive cut, okay, because you're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot. And when you do that, you're going to be malnutritious, and it's just going to be shoot yourself in the foot in terms of recovery, cognitive function, and so forth. Okay, a good way to understand that you are keeping as much muscle mass as you can is, for example, let's say at the start of your fat loss journey, you can bench press 100 kg for 10 reps. And then let's say that at the end of the fat loss phase, you can still bench 100 kg for 10 reps with the same RPE. You know that you've maintained the right amount of muscle mass. But let's say if you've increased this weight, you know, going through the process of body recomposition where you've lost fat and gained muscle, which is perfect, a win-win situation, okay? When you're looking on a maintenance scale, making sure that you're hitting your calories and macronutrient split every day is super important. You can be a bit more lenient with this as well, but it's one thing I will say, if you are a runner or do lots of cardio-based exercise, like, like a Barry's class or something like that, is that you need to be eating back 70 to 80% of the calories that you burn on, let's say, like a Whoop or a Garmin or something like that. Because around about 70 to 80%, because it's not going to be 100% accurate, but to maintain your weight that you want to be sticking at, that's what I'd recommend. That's only, let's say, if you go for a run, cycle, swim, etc. No need for strength training. That's to maintain your weight. To build muscle, okay, requires a process that is way more patient. If you try to put on weight too quickly, okay, then it's just going to equate to an overall weight gain, which you don't want. Okay, it's a reverse cycle of when you're trying to lose fat. Okay, and when you try and build muscle, simple process of you want to try to gain as much muscle as you can, okay, and minimize your weight gain. Because at the end of the day, let's say if you do go on a build cycle and that you build, you got a lot of weight, okay, but your muscle mass doesn't really go any higher. What happens is when you go, right, okay, I'm going to start cutting now, and you cut, you're going to go back to exactly the same level that you were pretty much at before. So it's just a real waste of your time, a real waste of your time. And as a standard procedure, let's say if you are wanting to start bulking, your body fat percentage should be no more than 20%. If it's anything higher than 20%, I suggest that you would lower the body fat percentage, okay? And then once you load it, then build yourself back up. You can go through the process of body recomposition to build muscle, so don't feel like if you're in a fat loss phase or in a maintenance phase that you can't build muscle. That's completely incorrect. Okay, as you follow the progressive overload with your proper programming, you're always going to be building muscle when you work with me. That's just a fundamentals. So don't feel like if you're in a fat loss phase or a maintenance phase that you're not going to be able to gain muscle. Okay, 100% you will. It just won't be as fast as you've been in the surplus, which is fine. Okay, because you are where you need to be at. Okay, there's no need for you to be doing that. Generally speaking, obviously, if you want to build muscle, you have to be in a calorie surplus. You should be in a surplus of around about 350 to 500 calories every single day, okay? But understanding that you need to be monitoring your weight gain, your progress pictures, your weight lifted, if you can, your body fat percentage, all these things that you need to be monitoring to make sure that you are doing it in the right way, if you really want to be really intricate about this as well, okay? Going back to what I said about the NEAT and the EAT, okay, let's use this example of my water bottle, okay, and let's say this water bottle, okay, is my TDEE, a bit of a mouthful there, your total daily energy expenditure, okay, so the whole 24-hour period, this is how much I'm going to burn in calories from here to here. 70% of this is kind of called your BMR. Okay, your basal metabolic rate. So if you just laid in bed and did absolutely fuck all, which I know some of you would absolutely love, okay, you would still burn around about 70% of your calories every single day. That's a big number. That's a big number. That's why I've tried to promote things like build as much muscle as you can, because that will increase your BMR, which is then going to increase your manipulative of your calories, your TDE. Okay, so 70% is your BMR. You've got three little things. Above that, you've got something called your TEF, your thermal effect of feeding. Okay, this is everything to do with your digestion. This is why I really promote a high protein diet, because one, it's going to increase your satiety levels, and number two, that increases your TEF, your thermal effect of feeding, which is going to equate to around about 5% of your total calories burnt each day. After that, you then got something called your NEAT, which is non-energetic activity thermogenesis. Okay, which is a process of anything that's non-plant exercise. You hitting your stem count every day, me moving around, me just holding my torso up, me just moving my hands, talking, fidgeting, whatever, will burn around about the same amount of calories as you doing a workout every single day. Okay, which is your next bit, which is your EAT, your energetic activity thermogenesis. Okay, which is all your plant exercise. For example, and it really does depend. Let's say if you are going for marathon training or like Ironman training, half Ironman training, or etc., ultra marathons or whatever, then obviously this is going to be a little bit different. But for the average person, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so you can understand how important it is to look at your NEAT when you just focus on any type of phase and when you want to manipulate your calories. Okay, this is why it's really important that you actually embody that healthy lifestyle, taking the stairs rather than getting a lift. Make sure you're walking rather than getting a car. Doing these little things, these 1%ers, are really important. Okay, but team, I hope that's been informative for you guys. As always, if you have any questions, you know where I am. I know the thing is with nutrition, the nutrition is so personalized and individualized to the individual. Okay, because what works for me will be completely different to the person next to me, and with different dietary requirements, etc., etc. Okay, so understand that. Okay, that nutrition is completely personalized, and understand that, like I always say, make your health and fitness work for you, not against you. It's exactly the same with your nutrition. The trainings we've done in the past of how to manipulate your nutrition when you have living a social life and everything like that is super important as well. But as always, guys, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, any controversy that I've spoken about today, you want to talk through, any myth busting that you want me to do, then please let me know. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week. Halfway through February, let's make the end of February as good as the start.